asking our Shaykh to send us something, inshallah, to speak, to learn. Very few important questions we're receiving these days. Questions that's going to improve your spirituality. Even so many questions we're getting, it's either heavy on just the nafs or the dunya. So say your question.
Is always talking about, in his poems, he's always talking about being involved and how he went through the cooking process to become complete. My question is that burning feeling he's always talking about, is that from his worldly problems, or is it from the regret or the fire of regret from his spiritual mistakes or spiritual shortcomings?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Close that door. Always, when you're about to start something, something must happen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. How can we even dare to speak about Hz.優奴斯? He is one of the most beloved ones to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can we speak about him or for him? He is such a holy one that he himself, he did not know his own holiness. And that makes him to be even more beloved to Allah, because he was never looking at himself. He was always looking to the greatness of Allah and the greatness of his Shaykh. So, you're saying, Samre's poetry. Samre, he wrote poems, but he was not a poet. This we have to make everyone to understand. Hazrat Rumi, he wrote poetry, but he wasn't a poet. That wasn't his occupation, that wasn't his identity. Samre, he was a dervish. He was someone who was sincerely preparing himself to enter into divine presence. He came from a very long line of alims, muftis and scholars in Islam. And he left everything to be with his Shaykh, to serve his Shaykh. The Shaykh Effendi Hazrat Lari is saying, for 40 years he served his Shaykh, just going up the mountains and collecting wood and bringing it to the dargah. That was his service. He wasn't praying with his Shaykh. He wasn't making zikr with his Shaykh. He wasn't even sitting with his sohbat in the old days. So many things are very strict. These days, there is no manners. Manners comes with strictness. Nowadays, everything is all mixed up, jumbled. So, he was the one that for 40 years, that's all that he served his Shaykh. If we tell any murid that comes here, not 40 years, not 40 days. Tell them 4 days you're going to stay here. All you have to do is go up the mountain, collect wood, Fajr time, and come back Maghrib, eat in the kitchen and go to sleep. This is tariqat. This is Sufism. They're going to say, what kind of a cult is this? Using people. Wrong. He did that for years. That Shaykh Effendi said one day his Shaykh was walking in the Dargah and he saw the firewood, and all the firewood that was collected by Hz. Yunus was completely straight like this. Then he looked at him and he said, there is no crooked tree in the forest. All the forests, the trees, they're straight like this. And he says, oh my Shaykh, to enter your Dargah, not even the wood can be crooked. Meaning, what about man? And he was so in love with his Allah, with his Prophet, with his Shaykh, that those 40 years that he spent, he was never away from his Shaykh, even for a blink of an eye. And he was singing, and he was praising his Lord and his Prophet and his Shaykh continuously. So many openings were given to him because of his sincerity. These are dervishes. That's why I'm saying, how can we dare to speak about them? So many other ones, they speak like he is nothing, he is something. They speak about him and about Hz. Rumi like they are nothing. They speak about Ibrahim ibn Adam like he is nothing. They speak about all these great saints without any respect, some even twisting their stories, saying lies about them. Very dangerous. So humiliation is falling to them. But Hz. Emre, the whole world is running after Hz. Rumi. These days, the whole world is getting very upset because Hollywood is going to make a movie about Rumi. And they want that, I don't know his name, that actor to be Rumi. And they say, oh, he's white. How can Hollywood make a white actor to play a brown person? And I say, you crazy? Are you really stupid? You're missing completely the point of the whole thing. It's not white, black, brown, or gray. It's about the material that you're using. The whole thing now is the whole mankind, when they let their ego to overtake them, they cannot see anyone above them. They have to bring everyone below them. When the ego overtakes, that time the ego is not even going to worship to Allah. It's going to bring Allah down. So of course, what is the angle that they're going to take with this? Hz. Rumi making a movie about him. We want to show the human side of him. The human side of him. What do you understand from human? Animal. Because you can only find that characteristic in yourself, so you think everyone else has that same characteristic and nothing more. It is also human to be a prophet. It is also human to be a friend of Allah. It is also human to be above the angels. It was also a human who was admitted into divine presence. Our Holy Prophet ﷺ, he was a human. Yes, but what kind of human? What kind of human Hollywood is producing? The kind of human that everyone is just going to be busy with things below their belly button. Kind of human. That's all. So it's not a question of race. It's a question of subject matter and how they're going to approach it. But the whole world is running after Hz. Rumi. But Hz. Rumi is saying, every station that I reach, I see the footprints of Yunus Emre. Every station that I reach, I see the footprints of Yunus. Yunus Emre was there long time. And his way beyond even where I will ever be. So when he speaks about cooking, He talks about being raw and he needs to be cooked. We cannot say too much. There's so many people studying his poems, trying to give meaning to his poems. You can do that, but we don't study the poetry, we study the man. We look at the man. And what do we look at? How are we going to learn the man? We look at our Shaykh. Our Shaykh is going to teach. When he speaks about being raw and having to be cooked, he is not like us. He is not like us that we had so much history before. We had so much mileage on our vehicle. He is not like us that he has so much ego that is inside, present, or the regret of the things that he did in the past. It's completely different when he speaks. Because in reality, all of that is just to reach to the shore. You cannot even swim into the ocean. To be able to reach to the shore, you have to get rid of all these things. But you haven't even touched the ocean yet. Once you touch the ocean, when he talks about being cooked, to be more complete, that is how you prepare yourself for divine presence. You don't prepare yourself for divine presence just by being a good person. Saying astaghfirullah, saying shukr and be a good person. That's not how you enter to divine presence. Look to the Mi'raj of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. How he was admitted to divine presence. Look at what happened. Study his life, which is what the Hutbah is speaking about. To study the Sirah. Sirah is a history, the life of the Prophet, which no one is studying these days. So they make stuff up. So what did the Holy Prophet ﷺ, what he had to go through? To the point that in today's understanding, we may say, astaghfirullah, we're saying astaghfirullah, but we may say that it was a very dark moment. If today's people carrying just a little bit of that, they're going to fall into depression and they're going to kill themselves. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also testing his Prophet. How he tested the Prophet to be able to make him to be on that journey. How he's testing the Prophet when he was on that journey. So this is way beyond our capability or understanding. Because to be cooked, now, you see, how can I say? You have to go down so hard into the earth to find, for example, a diamond. Let's say for the sake of argument. Don't say, oh, diamond is pushing it up and around. Let's just say for the sake of argument, you have to mine it, correct? Our spirit is like that. It's filled up with so much nafs and dunya. We have to dig and dig and dig and dig and to find that. Is that the end of the story? It's hardly the beginning of the story, isn't it? What do you need to do then? You need to take it out. Then what do you need to do? You need to give it into the hands of someone who can clean it and who can cut it properly. You give it to the wrong hands, he may crack it. It will lose its value completely. You cannot do it by yourself. So it takes out. You still have to cut it. After all that, then the journey begins. You cut it. You polish it. Then what happens? is it still a jewel that has value? It will not have value until someone who is valuable wears it. Otherwise, it's just locked up in the store. You don't even know it exists, correct? Until the Sultan puts it on his head. Then it has a value. Then it begins its life. As what? It begins its life next to the Sultan. Then that journey is endless. As long as the Sultan is living, one day continues. So our spirit, we are still digging. We are still digging. This is Zaman. This is the end of times. There are things in the end of times that is very difficult and very hard, very bad. But there are things in the Zaman which is a lot of good news. For those who try, those who make some effort, there's a lot of good news. For those who don't make the effort, there's a lot of bad news. In the beginning, if you do one, you get one. Time of the Prophet ﷺ. But at the end, you do one, you may get 100, you may get 1,000. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, if you revive, if you carry one sunnah, one of my traditions, in the Akhir Zaman, you will get the reward of 100 martyrs. The martyr has to give up everything in his own life to get the reward of a martyr. But all we have to do is to carry one sunnah. So there is big news for those who try. For us, we must try. It looks as if this is never ending. When are we going to finish digging and digging? We dig. And it is according to our intention. And our action will be accepted because of that intention. You think it is difficult for Allah and His Prophet and for His friends to just complete everything for us. Maybe in the old days they have to dig, they have to take it out, they have to clean it, they have to cut it, they have to sell it, and they have to give someone worthy to wear it. But maybe in these days, all that we have to do is just to dig however much that we can. It's very easy for them to do the rest. We don't have to. But we cannot be under any illusion or delusion thinking that we already found it and we have already. This is what Hz.優奴斯is speaking, is completely something else from what we are dealing with. You understand? He's not dealing with ego anymore. He's not dealing with ego anymore. He's dealing with self. He's dealing with self. He's dealing with his identity. He's dealing with leaving everything behind. Leaving his identity behind. Because right now, we want to get rid of our bad identity, correct? Or we want to get good identity. But those ones, they are going to be tested even in their good identity, the way that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he was tested. He was running. He looked as if everything was failing, and he was running. And his identity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a new identity. Of course you have to have a new. Everywhere you go, you have to get a new identity. You move from outside, you go to Washington, you enter into the White House, you have to have an identity card. You have to have special kind of cards to enter deeper and deeper into that White House. You have to have clearance. You go deeper and deeper into the ocean, same thing. You cannot have this body. You have to wear something else. You have to you go higher and higher and higher into the atmosphere, same thing. So now we're talking about that. you understand? Now we're talking about the transformation. Now we're talking about how we have to leave, and it is very painful. Of course it is. It's not that easy. So many people easily can say nothing is easy. That one who has experienced nothing, he won't understand how painful it is. And he's going to speak about it, not even talking about it too much. Just be busy with other things. Astaghfirullah lazim wa atubu ilayh. We don't know too much. We don't know anything. But those ones, they do. And inshallah, what we can hope for is their prayers and their du'as, that they can help us complete this journey. You understand? Amin Allahu tawfiq al-Fatiha. Amin. Assalamu alaikum.